When it comes to modifying a car, one of the first things that people will often do is they will throw a new intake on the car. The idea being that it will improve intake air temperatures, make some fun induction noises, and maybe give you a teeny little boost in power. As is the case with most things when it comes to modifying a car, there are a lot of very strong opinions about whether or not air intakes are even worth purchasing, whether or not they actually make a difference. But I wanted to speak specifically about the effect of doing an aftermarket intake on the G87 because I think there are some interesting subtleties that are worth highlighting. Hello there and welcome to the Engine Bay. Before we go any further, I do want to mention that if you want new intakes because you want fun intake noises and or you want your engine bay to look better, those are completely legitimate reasons to do an intake, and that actually makes the calculus very easy for you. You just pick something that feels like the right amount of money, that looks the way that you want, that sounds the way that you want, and you just move on with your life. But if your goal is performance, the math is a little bit more complex. When selecting an intake for performance reasons, there are really two problems that you are hoping to solve. The first is that you want to lower the restrictions that lead the air from outside of the airbox and filter into the engine. And that can involve having a higher flow filter. Maybe it's a filter with a larger surface area so it can suck air in from all dimensions. That's why cone style intakes are so popular. And the other thing that you probably are looking for is less turbulence and interference inside of the piping itself. A lot of OEM air systems have these sorts of ridges here because it makes the fit up. It allows them to build with lesser tolerances basically. And so if you can have a smoother inner diameter, that is going to lead to better flow into the car. Now, the other thing that most people want to improve with an aftermarket intake are intake temperatures. Now, on the G8X, and again, I'm not 100% sure this is true on the M3 and the M4, but certainly on the M2, the air boxes are supplied air from the outside through this pipe right here. And if you come to the front of the vehicle, those pipes lead out here. This radiator here is the thing that is the most sort of like front facing. But you can see there are ways for the air to get into the engine bay from the front here. And that is the air that you are feeding into your engine down here. So given all of the stuff that we just talked about, where does that leave us when it comes to changing your intake? Well, on the G8X, I actually think that the stock air intake is pretty reasonable. Now again, if you're wanting to upgrade for the sake of making the engine bay look nicer and for having some fun intake noises, that's very legitimate and you will get that if that's what you want. However, if you are tracking the car, if you're autocrossing it, if you want kind of the peak performance that this platform can provide, I would say that intakes should be pretty far down the list of things that you do because the gains are going to be pretty minimal, and if you're buying from a company that doesn't really know what they're doing, or you know, a company that cares more about form than function, you might actually be raising your air intake temperatures. This is also one of the reasons why, if you are going to be modifying your car with an eye towards getting better performance, it really behooves you to have some sort of data logging setup. Even just a really simple wireless OBD2 connector and one of the infinite number of applications that allow you to communicate with a device like that are going to be good. And again, if you're modifying your intake, measure your air intake temperatures and see what the mod does to them, because that is something that you should be considering.